Guys, let's break down some of the week matchups, week 15 matchups that we have on the slate here. We have Ravens and Jags to get us kicked off for this preview. So, Ravens are visiting Jacksonville.
This is the fan face-off.
This is the Sunday night. Yep.
This will be an interesting one. So
we need fans.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting one, and I'm curious. I'm curious on all aspects of this game because I don't know what to expect. You might take that as Chris doesn't have a best bet on this one, and you might be very correct on that. Baltimore -3, total set at 42.5 at this point, and this is I just don't have a pulse on this one as much as I would like to, because I don't know. This seems like a weird spot for Baltimore. The Jags, they've lost 2 straight, and Lamar, so the Jags need to get on track here. Lamar is a favorite historically, isn't very good, of a favorite of 3 or more. And they're on the road here on this one. I know there's a lot, from what I can tell and what I've looked at in the market, there's a lot of money coming in on Baltimore. So it makes me lean towards the Jags in a get-right spot with the Ravens on the road here if I had to lean aside. But this is a game I stayed away from across the board with betting any aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be cheering very hard for the Jags. Want them to beat Baltimore. That helps potentially my team. I don't know. I mean, the Jags obviously haven't played tremendous football recently, kind of fallen off a little bit. This one feels important to them, though. At home, Sunday night, Baltimore. They have a tough stretch ahead with Jags, Niners, Dolphins in their next 3. So, not that they're looking past this game. I just feel like this one feels a little more important for whatever reason to Jacksonville. Lean this one after sliding a little bit. That's where I would probably lean Jacksonville, but I don't have a bet on it because I don't know. I mean, listen, the AFC right now is like wide open, just wide open. Everyone has a chance unless you're New England? The Chargers and Raiders who play tomorrow night, but we don't even have to mention. That's the most we need to mention about tomorrow night's game because that's Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick tomorrow night.
Wait,
gonna be a great football
why
game.
are they letting a hockey stick play football?
I don't know.
Not sure.
Why do they let a picket fence play football?
That's his offensive line.
But I don't have a great feel. I don't know what Jaguars team is going to show up. I do lean Jacksonville. I think this will be a close game. Baltimore kind of escaped, got a little fortunate last week with an overtime win on a punt return against the Rams at home. And I know the Ravens are 10-3, but I'm not sure they're appreciably. They haven't separated from the pack in the AFC. They're kind of, they're right there, but they're not leaps and bounds better. Like right now, I feel like there's 2 teams in the NFC that have separated from almost everyone in the league right now. So
yeah. One other story note that popped up it's been kind of over the past week, was associated with the Jags. Sky, did you hear the story? The ex-Jag employee who accused of defrauding the franchise of $22.2 million. And this was, this dude, Amit Patel, worked for the actual Jags organization within their front office and was manipulating the Jags virtual credit card program and used the proceeds to fund luxury lifestyle between 2019 and 2023, February of 2023. He was playing daily fantasy sports and at a high stakes level under the username Parlay Picker on FanDuel and DraftKings. And he was, how bad do you have to be at daily fantasy football for you to blow $22.2 million. Like, that's insane. Get good, kid. Get good.
I mean, it was a $22 million free roll though, Chris. So not a lot of pressure on it. I wish I could have one of those. But yeah, I mean, I haven't dug too far into it. Like, how can this happen? Did anyone else lose their job for not noticing this was happening?
Like his bosses or anything?
Yeah. Super fascinating. I can't even imagine that occurring. Like at the Rockies, I'd be like, that would be our biggest scandal. Was like, we had an employee that was like selling. He got fired because he was selling bobblehead promotional items online. Not quite the same thing. I don't think he got 22 million from that.
Get him out.
But
well, now you're back.
He was fired for that too. Probably shouldn't take a picture of the bobbleheads within a certain insides of the ballpark. That might alert people. But anyway,
yeah. I mean
that was years ago.
Yeah.
Fun times.
It also says here he was doing buy-ins on these daily fantasy. He was doing buy-ins of upwards of $24,000 buy-ins. On FanDuel and DraftKings. I'm like,
he's an addict, Chris, and it's probably for the best that he got caught. It's probably going to his life might trend in an upward direction in prison, Chris. Quite frankly.
It's crazy. Anyways, side note on the Jags, if in case you missed that crazy story. Yes, Jags are at home. Yeah, I mean, with all the money coming in.
By home, we mean Jacksonville, not London.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we thought we would make that distinctively clear here.
I think they'd have a better shot if it was in London, though.
Yeah. They would probably kill it in London. They did it all. Yeah. I mean,
they won both their London games this year.
Rich people doing rich people. Well, I mean, he wasn't rich. The franchise was rich, and he took advantage of it. Well, he was rich in that he acquired 22 million. True.
That's a good amount of. It's a good amount of money.
I'd like that amount of money.
Yeah.
We just want you to have enough to sub, Rack.
And maybe a meal or two, maybe two. We want you to make
When
sure.
they keep clicking on my articles, they might get enough.
Oh man, I would love a $24,000 free roll. Anyways, on to the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. This will be, I think, a fascinating game. Cowboys visiting the Bills this week. Spread right now, Buffalo -2.5 at home against the Dallas Cowboys team, who's considered one of the best teams in the NFL at this point. Total set at 50.5 in this one. And Scotty, I'll let you kind of lead off with your second favorite team here, and what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little torn on this one in the sense of usually I'd look at this line and it'd be like, all over Dallas, because I think anytime you can get the better team as the underdog, which I think Dallas is here, that's favorable. This is a big spot for Bills, though. I know it's a big one coming off. It's not a great spot with Dallas coming off a big Philly win. I do think they want to continue the momentum, and they need to win in order to try and win that division and get some home games, if nothing else, or even potentially the number one seed in the NFC. But Buffalo needs this more, right? Like Buffalo coming off the win last week in Kansas City. Now they get to watch the following night Miami choke on Monday Night Football against Tennessee, and all of a sudden the picture in the AFC East is wildly different. These two teams play to close out the season. Buffalo and Miami do. So Buffalo continues to win, and Miami has a very difficult schedule down the stretch. After I think next week, they still have to play, I believe, Dallas and Buffalo and things like that. So this one should be. I mean, might be my favorite matchup of the week. I didn't even tease it, but I'd love to tease it. I don't know why I didn't. I would tease Dallas up to 8.5 or 8 or whatever you can get it at now. But this one should be fascinating. Feel like it's going to be, if it was at 3, I'd take Dallas in a second. But with it being under that, I could see Buffalo needing this a little more. Both these teams are really elite. And it's going to probably come down to turnovers, which you think should help Dallas. But and if Dallas can win this one, like Dak has to be the MVP of the league, or at least up to that point. I mean, everything can change in the last couple of weeks, but like Dak's balling out. This defense is creating turnovers. CeeDee Lamb's been a monster. But Buffalo doesn't get they're getting respect here, but with casuals, everyone just looks at the record and they're like, Buffalo's not good, which is not true. Buffalo's still a top 7 team in the NFL. There's not a lot of teams I'd pick over Buffalo. And if and when they make the playoffs, they're going to be very dangerous.
Well, and I think, too, maybe some motivation will be Cowboys need to win a lot. I mean, obviously the schedule isn't in their favor down the stretch here because it's pretty tough. But if they can win a game that's going to be kind of, I think, closer than what people think, if they could find a way to win that game, they're that much closer to home field advantage, and we know what they do at home. So maybe there's some motivation there with trying to do everything they can to win and try to secure that home field advantage. It's going to be tough though. I think Dallas is slightly the better team in this matchup, especially considering Dallas away from home, especially against better teams. They've kind of been, they've been good in some and not good in others, and you just don't know which Dallas team you're going to get. I did, since you didn't do it, Scotty, I did it for you as one of my best bets. This is half of my teaser. I teased Dallas up to 8.5 as one of my halves of my best bets of the week. Just because I'm worried about, again, that road matchup against a good team. They just came off the Super Bowl practically of what they wanted to do against the Eagles, and they did it in convincing fashion. So I think that they were able to kind of relax a little bit and kind of mentally prepare for this next one. 8.5 feels safer than going after this spread by itself. So that's what I did on this one, given that it was 2.5. And I think still, I don't know if it's changed a little bit. By the way, Dak Prescott is currently tied with Brock Purdy for MVP, regular season MVP odds, at least on FanDuel Sportsbook. Both of them tied at plus 150. So he could help his chances here this weekend on that as well. Josh Allen interception probably is a lock, says Swift.
I mean, it's a team that intercepts the ball a lot, and Josh Allen throws a lot of interceptions.
Do you think we'll get a pick 6 by our boy?
Is he going to get blanded? Probably not. I mean, I say that, but who knows?
If there's one if there's one player that'll do it, I think maybe I should put that on there. Is there? I should look at what the prop is or what the odds are for a bland touchdown, defensive touchdown.
They had the last time he did it, FanDuel ran like a promo and it was like 27-1. The last time he did it, I think on Thanksgiving.
Get blanded. All right, cool. There we go. Cowboys Bills, one of the better games this weekend. Broncos Lions is the next one on the slate here. Broncos visiting Detroit this weekend is this Saturday game?
It is a Saturday. We got three Saturday games.
Which, by the way, Chris, keep that in mind, guys. If you guys we'll talk about fantasy football. Everyone's kind of got the playoffs going right now, so make sure you don't forget that there's Saturday football and you don't get your lineup set. So this is one of those games. Broncos at Lions. Detroit currently favored at -4 at home in this one, and the over/under total set at 48. Scotty, I'll just dive in on this one for the Broncos, and we alluded to this past Sunday about how I didn't really feel great about the Denver Broncos' chances this week going into Detroit, since I feel like this is a get-right spot for the Detroit Lions. The loss to the Bears last week was not something the Lions were hoping for, wanting, and it's embarrassing to them for a team that's done what they have so far this season. We know that Jared Goff isn't better at home than on the road, which is why we both hit our best bets of the week last week with Jared Goff coming to outdoor conditions. But at home and comfortable indoors, he has a 99.6 passer rating, 69.8 completion percentage, 7.7 yards per attempt. The Broncos in a bad spot here. It couldn't be a worse spot for the Broncos, playing their third straight road game on a short week. They continue to be conservative offensively, which if the Lions have any sort of outburst of scoring at all in this one, it's pretty much done. I just think it's going to be hard to keep up with the Lions if they are playing well at home, which everything leans to them playing better at home. Denver gives up an average of 5.1 yards per carry, which sets up well for David Montgomery. I think that and Jahmyr Gibbs might probably have a big day too. The Lions secondary, I think, is not going to be as susceptible. I think the Lions bench one of their secondary players because he's awful. And now they have
They moved Brian Branch to the nickel.
Yeah,
a rookie.
I think they had like
rookie from Bama.
Oh no, here it is. Jerry Jacobs. Everyone's been picking on him because he's been trash, and they replaced him. So that's not going to be as weak of a situation for them, I don't think either. So, anyways, long story short, I don't have a bet on this game, but if I did, it would probably be towards the Lions. I think that the Broncos still have a chance to lose this game and still win the rest and have a fighter's chance at the playoffs. But this one, if they could win this one, great. But I don't have high hopes, Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people look at this game and you see a Lions team that's reeling recently, not playing great football, and you see a Denver team that's obviously won, 6-7. So, two teams trending in opposite directions. I think a lot of the public's going to be like, oh, and I get all these points with Denver? Of course. I'm on the other side, Chris. I do have this as a bet of the week, and I'm on Detroit. Listen, this is a great spot for Detroit to get right. I think they're going to be focused after losing two of their last three, including to the Bears last week on the road. Jared Goff at home puts up points, and I don't know that Denver can, like, with this total at 48, I just have a hard time. That's a very high total for a Denver game these days. I don't know that Denver, without creating turnovers and setting up very short fields, can hang in here. Like, I think Detroit's going to score, and I don't think Denver can offensively keep up. Like, if Detroit all of a sudden gets up 14-0, this game could be already done at that point. I just don't think the Broncos offense is set up to, be able to come back from a deficit or keep up in a game where they're going to have to put up 24 plus points in order to win the game. I just don't know that they can do that without, some of their drives last week were, their first touchdown drive was a 3-yard drive, Chris, after a turnover. Like, I just don't know how sustainable that is. This game is the perfect get right moment for Detroit. You talked about Denver, third straight on the road. That's a lot to ask for a team. And while they've won 6-7, there's a little smoke and mirrors to it, in my opinion. So I think Detroit wins this by a touchdown or more.
They very well could. It's weird. I saw one of the tweets I saw. So I mentioned that the Broncos could lose this game and still have a chance. I don't know. I just saw this. I don't know how accurate it is, but someone threw in a simulator of Broncos. If they go 3-1 the rest of the way, with the loss being to the Lions, they have. This is based off of. Let's see. Oh, the Broncos have a 52% chance to make the playoffs and a 12% chance at the division. If they go 3-1 the rest of the way, the loss being to the Lions, they have a 96% chance. 3-1 with the loss against the against an AFC team, and they have a 85% chance. I don't know. It's all weird guerrilla math to me. I'm not a math person, but whoever put this in simulator, I don't know how accurate it is, but I don't know. Anyways.
Chris, real quick in the chat, not to jump off of football, but Sarah put out there, Giannis, 64 points tonight in a bit of a revenge game against the Pacers that they come out ahead on.
Oh,
they lost to the Pacers in the little semifinals of the in-season tournament. They get revenge here. Giannis, 64. I will say 32 free throw attempts for Giannis in this game. 32.
How many did he hit of those?
24. 75% for Giannis that's
pretty good.
That's elite for Giannis.
I was wondering
20 of 28 from the field. He scored 64, and I listen. I didn't see the game, so he didn't make a 3-pointer in the game. He was 0 for 3 from 3, so everything within the paint against an Indiana team that's not good defensively at all.
Oh, Indiana! That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah,
Indiana.
But 64 is still 64 points.
True.
So
yeah,
props to Giannis on his night. I do think it's a little gross that one player got 32 free throw attempts in a game, but
must be nice. Must be nice. Not salty.
How does he only have 3 assists? Frankly, I mean, you must have
scoring all the points.
Well, yeah, but that just means you have the ball in your hands a lot. I don't know, but not to take away. I'm just
no.
I would have expected by default you'd just fall into a couple more assists than that. But and they get the win, 140-126 over the Pacers. So Bucks get a little revenge. Giannis, I gotta imagine that's his career high, for sure. So, monster night for Giannis.
Man, the Pacers may be a historically bad defense. Like, they're so bad this season. And again, not to take away from what they did, but like, when there was probably 2 or 3 teams that I was like, who do they play tonight? That I was like, who would give up that many points to Giannis? I was like, Pacers makes total sense. They only give up 124 points a game on average. No big deal.
The over-under was set at 258.5, which they obviously eclipsed, but only by 7.5 points. So
I think
in a 140-126 final.
I think there's been a couple games this year that have set records for the highest over-under totals, and the Pacers have been involved in both of those games. And they both
it's been Pacers Bucks. I think it's been Bucks too.
Yeah,
maybe. I believe that's what the other one was, the bubble or the in-season tournament. I keep saying bubble. I say bubble because the Lakers won it, so it didn't really count.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
The only LA team to win a title during 2020.
His last career
probably didn't deserve it.
Last career high was 55 against the Wiz. Okay, all right, there you go. I hope the Lions lose against this Joker. Crazy. Giannis going nuts tonight. All right, let's talk about your boys. We got Chiefs at the Patriots here. KC -8 in this one. What didn't this open up at 9.5?
Yeah.
And now it's down to 8, which means all this money is coming in on the Patriots to cover 9.5, and now it's bet down to 8. Let me make sure it's still at 8 if it doesn't fallen further, which is kind of wild to think against the Patriots team, who's been absolutely abysmal outside of last week. Absolutely abysmal in scoring points. Right now it's at 8.5. So maybe it was bet back up a little bit. But over under set at 37. Scotty, we got to follow the rules in this one, though. We got to make sure we're following the rules correctly this week. Preview all the rules that we're going to follow for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, we got to make sure to follow the rules against the New England Patriots, who have always been known to follow the rules themselves. So there shouldn't be any penalties in this game, Chris. because both teams will play a perfect game. Yeah, the Patriots are obviously not good, but did get a win last week, and now extended rest coming into this one. While their offense has been anemic, their defense has given up 18, 0, 10, 10, and 20 in their last 5. So while the offense has been struggling, the defense has played... I said 0 in one of them, but they gave up 6. I lied. They scored 0.
How could you?
I know. But either way, their defense has played well. Belichick's always had a good game plan against Kansas City. Even when Kansas City's offense is rolling during a season, it seems like we play New England and like it kind of gets bogged down. But Chris, there's so many. Listen, all of a sudden, the Chiefs are in like kind of a position they've never been in before, where like they're starting to finally become the heel a little bit of the league. Everyone. Can I just say, Mahomes, for what he did in the or during the game, whatever, yelling at the refs, that's passion to me. What he said to Allen after the game was more just in the moment and being frustrated. But he did apologize to Allen, who said like he actually didn't need to apologize. It was no big deal. But everyone else out there is just like, I lost respect for Mahomes this week, not because of even the rest, because of how he's what he said to Allen after the game. I'm like, shut up. All right. Like, you were just sitting, you never liked Mahomes. You were waiting for a reason to hate Mahomes. And this is the best thing you found in his like 7 years in the league or whatever it is him showing some emotion in probably not the best light for a conclusion to a game that was shocking. So shut your mouths. The fact that he has to apologize for it and at all or like take it back is stupid to me. Saying that, now they get to play a little of this heel. Chris, the Denver Post this week literally wrote an article how the Broncos broke Mahomes. Like, are they the dumbest paper alive?
I didn't know the Denver Post still existed, honestly.
It's the dumbest paper alive. Mahomes saw that tweet, liked it. So he's aware of that article. It's just stupid to ignite Mahomes and piss him off. So I think you're going to get scorched earth Mahomes down the stretch. This matchup scares me just because like the Patriots don't give up a lot of points against the Chiefs. So I don't know what to expect. And obviously it's hard to trust the wide receivers right now. But Chris, I might be crazy, but I still think the Chiefs are going to come out of the AFC. I really do. If I had to bet on one team, that would be the team I would pick to come out of the AFC. And quite frankly, Miami losing on Monday night gives them a boost where the realm of possibility of them getting the number 1 seed in the AFC is not that crazy anymore. They need Miami to lose once, and they need Baltimore to lose twice. And for the Chiefs to win out. Now, the Chiefs play the Patriots, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Bengals. So not exactly a gauntlet of difficulty, where Miami and Baltimore still have some tough games down the stretch. Miami still has to play Dallas. Miami and Baltimore play each other, and then Miami plays Buffalo. So where Baltimore still has Jacksonville, they still have Dallas, and they play Miami. So like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think you're going to see a pissed off Chiefs team that's finally... I think they needed to let that emotion out. I think they needed to finally be real. After the games, they've just always been like, well, we just got to be better. But this week, they were just pissed off. They've had enough. And I hope they show up and they absolutely beat the living shit out of a lame duck coach, which has been announced kind of officially almost this week that Bill Belichick's run in New England is ending at the end of this year.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about that.
I don't know how much I trust it.
Well, it was reported.
The source is pretty good.
It was reported Monday. NBC Sports Boston reported, citing anonymous sources, that the Patriots and Belichick would split after the 2023 season, a decision that reportedly was made after the team's 10-6 loss to the Colts in Germany on November 12th, supposedly. Allegedly, that was being said. So, the report has sparked a lot this week to put Belichick in that whole thing where he's like, we're on to Kansas City. Every time he gets asked a question, we're getting ready for Kansas City. We're on to Kansas City. Every answer. He was most recently letting loose on College Game Day this past week. Doing his thing, which he doesn't typically do. There's a lot of things that I feel like there's some behavior patterns that aren't typical of Belichick as of late that I feel I look for patterns, Scotty, and the patterns just tell me something's up. Something's fishy going on with this whole Belichick situation in the future. The Patriots need a change. They've lived through all the dynasties. They've gotten through the Tom Brady era, and I think they just need a fresh coat of paint. I think this might be part of it. I don't know. That's just me, but it might be some sources telling us that that's all part of the whole thing as well. So, yeah, we might be seeing the last game for Belichick, and he'll be on to greener pastures potentially here coming up. So,
and that's not to say that he won't coach for another team. It wouldn't. I'd almost expect it.
Oh yeah,
but I do think his run in New England's over after this year. It makes sense for both sides. Belichick's aging. New England's not close to competing right now. They need a total reboot. And if you're Belichick, Belichick needs to go to a roster that's already set up that can be competitive, and that he doesn't have to. Hopefully, just don't let him touch the GM duties of it at this point. And I mean, he can still. I still think Bill Belichick as a coach and an X and O's guy is phenomenal. He just can't diagnose talent right now.
He's a terrible GM, and he can't hire assistants. He doesn't even hire coaches; he hires friends.
Let's see. These anonymous sources could be Chris Broussard level sources. Says STG. No, I think there's some decent sources that have come out and said it. Chiefs need to shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Ooh, ooh. When did he sign that extension again? Says Sergeant. When was that?
I don't know Belichick's contract.
It was last. Well, I think he secretly signed it at the end of last season or something, the off season.
Yeah. I also remember a while back, Rams signed Jeff Fisher to a secret extension, and then he got fired 2 weeks after it got leaked.
And I am seeing something that says it's only covers 2023 and 2024. So they'd only be missing out on next season if they were to part ways as far as the contract goes. I think I can rely on that report, but who knows? Who knows? The internet lies sometimes, Chris.
True.
No.
Don't believe everything you see on the internet, folks. The Bill Belichick coach is good, but the Bill Belichick GM, get out of here.
Get out of here. I'm going to get out of here for a second, Chris.
Spam code yellow in the chat. Not like the Raiders paying John Gruden and Josh McDaniels. It's a trap. They trap themselves. It is. They trap themselves.
They deserve it.
Spam code yellow. Brett Favre's extension was leaked in a similar fashion. Hi-oh. Hi-oh. He was exposed for certain things. Correct, Cuban. Exposed. It is weird though. I will say, going back to one of Scotty's points, just the last thing on this Chiefs Patriots storylines. It is fascinating how quickly people have shifted their thought process on Patrick Mahomes, right? Because Patrick Mahomes has been the golden boy. He's the guy you want to bring home to your daughter. He's the guy that you want running your team, and he says all the right things, does all the right things. And I think everyone, how, the girls always out there like, oh, I want the good guy. I want a good guy. But deep down, they want the bad guy. And I think everyone's been seeing good guy Mahomes, good guy Mahomes, good guy Mahomes. And they've been just, the minute he turns out, like something happens, like they just want that twist in the story.
People love hate.
People want to hate Mahomes, but they've never had they've never had an opportunity because he's so likable and he's such a great player. No one has ever really had a reason to. But now he does something like this, and the narrative shifted so quickly on one single player that I'm just like, how does that happen? I think that maybe it could be the success, it could be, all these other factors, but still, maybe it's the fact that he's always in the news and everyone's always talking about him and people are getting kind of fatigued about it and they don't have a reason to get angry at him because he's a perfect dude until this past week. And so I don't know. It's fascinating. It's a weird situation for. I've never seen an athlete go from being that loved to being criticized as much as he is in such a quick, short period of time. It's crazy.
Who, Mahomes?
Yeah. So I was talking about
it's all bullshit.
Well,
the criticism is all bullshit.
Well, because I'm on social media, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, and I see some of the things that kind of pop up when it comes to Mahomes and how people are perceiving him now, as opposed to how he was perceived before, where he's perfect, he's the best player, he has never done anything wrong, he's the golden child, and everyone I feel like I was comparing it to bringing home. Like girls who bring home like the good guy, but deep down they kind of, there's something that, I don't know, there's that bad kind of bad guy feel that they get drawn to somehow. I don't know what it is, but people have been seeing the success and they're like, well, we don't have a reason to hate Mahomes. He hasn't done anything. His brother has. Maybe his wife gives us some reasons, but he's never done anything. So we have no reason to get upset with him. And then he has this thing, and people are like, this is it. This is my opportunity to be able to say something for once. I don't know. That's just my speculation running.
Yeah. I told you, Chris, it was people that were like, they would say, I like Mahomes because he's so likable and he's never done anything wrong. That were secretly just waiting for a reason to hate him.
Yes.
And now they grabbed onto this little tiny straw that's like, really a nothing burger in the grand scheme of things, and they're like, now I can't stand that guy. I can't believe he did that. Which I guarantee every single one of those saying that has done something worse within the past 4 days, Chris.
Draymond Green.
No, I'm just talking about these fans.
Yeah.
I bet they've treated someone worse than people aren't perfect, Chris. People aren't perfect. They shouldn't be held to that standard. He's even came out and apologized for it and owned to some of that I don't even know that he needs to. But he has. Keep close to the criticism of his performance is fair. I don't even think that's true. One, a lot of it goes on his wide receivers, which statistically there's stats on ESPN from an article this week that they, as far as the drops and different metric, are the worst wide receiver core in the past decade plus. And the other thing is what about his performance? Until he doesn't succeed in the playoffs or do something like that, like it's way too early to criticize his performance. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it yet.
Scotty, part of me wants Mahomes deep down inside to embrace the villain arc. Rec, mute.
I don't think he's at his computer. Maybe he is.
Part of me wants him to embrace this evil arc and just go with it, run with it, and just be evil, like just killer instinct Mahomes, like dark Mahomes, and see where that takes him. Like, what if he all of a sudden goes on this like crazy, like, I mean, he's going to be in the news more. He's going to be, I don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't want all that, but I don't know. He's too nice of a guy. I know.
Keep close this. Mahomes not the player throwing at those receivers. He is. He's not the one dropping those catches though. At a rate wildly. And Mahomes has caused 228 points off turnovers this season. I don't know where you got that stat, but that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. What?
It's also the fact that Mahomes, like most of his points come from the 2 minute inside the 2 minute warning. Outside the 2 minute warning, he struggles a whole lot more.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but okay. Let's let's take a small sample size and not look at the single greatest start to a career we've ever seen from a quarterback ever and say Mahomes is not good. Let's do that instead.
But my preseason prediction was correct, though. It was correct to some extent on the wide receiver core. If I have to go back, because actually it's right below. I kind of like splice all my docs together. And my preseason hot take was I think the Chiefs have gotten too comfortable with the we don't care what kind of receivers we have mentality, and it's going to bite them in the ass this season.
We'll see.
But
we'll see.
But you said it led to the worst statistical wide receiver core.
They're more than 50%. As far as drop rate, it's the highest in like over a decade, and even more than 50% more than like the second worst team in the league this year.
So
it's 8% of Mahomes' throws in general are dropped by wide receivers.
So yeah, exactly. Like, you needed to get that number one or maybe even a number two even in. So
I mean, it drives me nuts that they didn't. I mean, watching even the other night on Monday night, like watching DeAndre Hopkins, I wish they would have thrown a bag at him a little more. Obviously, I feel like that could have made a world of difference.
Oh,
I mean,
dude.
Literally, the Chiefs right now would have 1 or 2 losses if they just had guys that would catch the football or line up on side.
It's crazy
from the wide receiver spot. So,
yep. All right, let's move on. We have Vikings and Bengals coming at you here. Vikings visiting Cincinnati. Spread on this game is -3. So the Bengals at home are favored by 3 points, which is crazy to think after Burrow went down what we expected from this Bengals team and how they've kind of been still relevant when it comes to the NFL, like very relevant when it comes to how they've been able to keep up with teams and actually play good football. Total set at 40.5. And this has been kind of one of the surprises of the last couple weeks and maybe the season of like the fact that, I mean, no one expected this. The Vikings, by the way, in this game will be returning to Nick Mullins at quarterback. So they will be starting somebody brand new as opposed to the Pastronaut who got benched last game and is going to stay on the bench. But Jake Browning has been very good coming in and filling in for Joe Burrow. Yeah, this one, I don't know what to expect from Minnesota. I don't have a best bet in this one by any means, but I don't know. Minnesota, I think, can keep this potentially close. I just don't know what I'm getting from Nick Mullins, though. Minnesota offense ended only one of its first 8 drives in the Raiders territory last week. Made it to midfield on both.
You're not getting a lot.
But the bright spot is on both of Mullins' drives, they found success downfield and made it past midfield. So Mullins did find something in those games. So I just don't know if he's going to replicate that. I don't know if that's going to be something that you could fall back on. The Bengals defense has largely struggled this season, ranking 31st in yards per play. So Mullins might be able, if he could do it against the Raiders, he could maybe do it against a bad, Bengals secondary. The Minnesota defense would have to get some pressure on Jake Browning to make him uncomfortable. But I don't know. Minnesota hasn't allowed an offensive touchdown in 2 straight games, but I don't know if that's going to last either. I don't really have much on this one. If I had, maybe this is a closer game. I think Vikings tend to play close games on occasion here. Maybe I would lean towards getting points in this one, but I don't feel good enough about it to make a call on it. I could totally see the Bengals running away with this too. It's a weird game.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough to project. I think most people have noticed the hype train that is Jake Browning the last 2 weeks. With wins over Jacksonville and Indy last week and playing well in those 2 games, so which is shocking because Jake Browning in college, even to me, was not at Washington, wasn't overly impressive. He's played well. Now that lends itself to at home -3 against a team that's now changing quarterbacks again going to Nick Mullins after Dobbs struggled quite a bit the last few weeks. I think a lot of people want to dump money probably on Cincy here. And I have a weird feeling. Listen, the over-under on this is only 40.5. It's a very small number. So I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, Vegas is showing respect to Browning. I don't know that they are. 40.5 is a small number. And this is going to be a tight one. I don't have a bet. I would lean Minnesota. And again, it's equally important to both teams. Both teams 7-6. Both teams need this one. Minnesota's been good on the road. They're 5-2 on the road this year, so they've been good outside of the, Minneapolis, whatever it's called there, whatever their stadium's called. I don't even know what it's called in Minneapolis. I know it's nice.
It's U.S. Bank.
U.S. Bank, sure, it's a bank. So probably gonna go bankrupt, and then someone will buy that name later on. Or maybe that just happens in Denver. Yeah. Anyway, I'd lean towards taking the points with Minnesota. I think changing quarterbacks, you get a little less. It seems like Josh Dobbs is a guy that like plays good for a couple games, and then all of a sudden teams get tape on him, and then it's just a disaster. So I think it's the right move actually from Minnesota's vantage point to move to Nick Mullins here, get a little something different, throw some different things together and see what happens. It sounds like Jay Jetta's, while he got hurt last week in the game and his return finally, sounds like he's going to play this week. He said himself that he's going to play this week, I believe. So I'm going to trust the source on that one. And we should have a super interesting matchup with Jamar Chase and Jay Jettas. Although is Chase now
Chase is playing.
He is playing.
He came out. I saw a report that he said, with my ankle, I'm 100% playing this weekend, no doubt.
All right. So this one, I mean, super important game. This one's on Saturday as well. This kicks off the Saturday action, Chris, at the normal early Sunday slot, time slot. So we'll have the normal early Sunday with Vikings Bengals. We get Steelers Colts, which we're going to talk about just to appease Rec in a little bit, and then Broncos Lions is the nightcap.
Yeah.
So while actually the 3 Saturday games are all important games as far as it may not be visually beautiful at all times, all 3 games are important in the scheme of like playoffs, and all 6 teams are above 500. Now 5 of them are 7-6. And then the 9-4 Lions, who are reeling a little bit, but should be an interesting game of interesting day on Saturday to watch these games that mean so much. This one will be interesting, but I can't bet not the unknown of Nick Mullins. And listen, Browning's been playing well, but I do think Browning has like a come back to earth moment. Obviously, his first start against Pittsburgh, he didn't play that great in. Next 2, he's played really well in. So we'll see what happens in this one. I just still have I struggle to think that Browning is just this like world beater, but he has weapons around him. He has weapons in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and that crew. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also, Sargent said less game tape on Mullins though, which is true. I mean, that's one thing that you can't always prepare for. Yeah, you were like, there's a lot of game tape on Dobbs because people have gotten used to what he can and can't do. But less game tape on Mullins. So, yeah, agreeing with you there.
What Minnesota would like to run with Mullins. Mullins, I remember him in San Fran. He got some spot starts here and there with injuries in San Fran, but he hasn't really played with Minnesota. So, what they like to run with him and how it changes, it's just hard to game plan for, especially a DC and Cincy with Lou Anarumo. I don't know how to say his name. Who's really good. He's really great at DC, but it's harder to game plan for a guy you just don't have tape on.
Guys, hit that follow button if you're enjoying all the analysis, all the content, all the jokes and laughs and commentary. We are here every Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. Let's see. Did you cover the Chargers? No. And we probably won't.
We're not. I mean, the Chargers have scored like 2 points the last 2 weeks, so I don't know what you want us to cover.
I mean, the teams that play them barely need to cover them. Hi-yo.
I don't want to watch the game tomorrow. I really don't.
By the way, from a betting standpoint,
it might be worse. It might be worse than last Thursday's game.
You know, from a betting standpoint, the unders on primetime are done. They're done. It was a good wave while it lasted, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just, it's done. It's over.
Time to jump back on it, Chris.
The last 2 weeks.
What they want you to think.
The last 2 weeks, we've had 3 overs each week in those primetime spots. So it's done. Back-to-back weeks with overs. I hope you made your money on the unders while you had the chance. All right, let's jump to Steelers and Colts. Steelers visiting Indianapolis here for this game. The spread is -1.5 in favor of the Indianapolis Colts in this one. Over-under set at 42.5. You know what, Scotty? I think we let Rec. I'm going to take a code yellow, but we're going to let Rec power through his analysis of this game and what he thinks is going to happen and what his prediction is. Go ahead, Rec. Kick us off. Code yellow in the chat.
Bam it.
All right, so I continue.
Yeah, go. You're up. Batter up.
So, we got some players talking about how this is the start of the playoffs for them. Like they consider this a must-win game. So, honestly, this is the. I know you're gonna think I've been saying, but this is the game that I feel like can make or break Tomlin's future. Because if they come into this playoff game and they're as unprepared as before, he might be gone. If they're as unprepared as they were, I think it would confirm that the locker room is just lost. So this is big for Mike Tomlin if he wants to continue as Steeler. And of course, on the player side, the Colts, they just got their ass kicked by the Bengals. And these are two opportunistic teams, both on downturns. They're both with backup quarterbacks that are still somehow, they were winning, now they're struggling again. Historically, the Steelers own the Colts. I don't know why, but the Colts haven't beaten the Steelers since 2008. So this is a team, for whatever reason, Mike Tomlin does have Indy's number. But after both teams' recent performances, I am not touching this game in the slightest. We'll see which Steelers team comes out. Are we going to get the Steelers team that's pissed off and they're going to come out and win it like it's a playoff game? Or are they just going to lie down like they had the last 2 games? What are we going to get? What are we going to get from the Steelers team?
Do you worry that the Steelers have, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a little too many me first guys? A little too much me instead of we?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
Listen, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. It's obviously important at 7-6 for both teams here. Pretty much vital, in the playoff run to. Not only do you lose this game, but then you lose a tiebreaker if you lose this one to the other side. So Steelers do have the added rest of playing last Thursday, coming off 2 embarrassing performances at home. Maybe getting away from home is going to be helpful. Indy hasn't played that inspiring of football. Indy defensively is kind of a dumpster fire. So even with the Steelers starting,
matches up perfectly.
Maybe this is a good get right moment for the Steelers to string some drives together and put some points and make those unhappy players happy that only care about scoring touchdowns. But I don't know. I honestly don't have a strong opinion on this game. I think I did actually put this. I teased up Pittsburgh. I teased up Pittsburgh to 7.5 or 8 or whatever it was at the time when I bet it. Just because I listen, Pittsburgh plays close games, right? So if I can get them over a touchdown against a pretty flawed team in Indy, and with the added rest, I'll take that in the teaser. So I teased the Steelers up, but as far as who wins this game, I honestly have no effing idea.
No.
And,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't-
I'm not touching this.
I don't
at
think
all.
these teams. I don't think these teams know what's going to happen.
The only move is to do what Scotty did, and that's tease it up. For a few reasons. I know Mitch on the road is like, and nothing exciting, but like Minshew's beat up. Colts have no run game. They've been outplayed lately, and they don't play good at home, which is kind of the opposite of like most teams that you would expect. Like they just don't play well at home for some reason. As long as Mitch doesn't throw any pick sixes, I feel like you should be okay. But the Colts have allowed 3+ sacks in 6 of the last 7, and I'm sure Pittsburgh's going to use that to their advantage to get a lot of pressure in on them. Steelers 12-2 in their last 14 versus AFC South, and Indianapolis is 2-12 in their last 14 versus AFC North. They did win in Baltimore this year, so that's kind of weird. But I think all the trends tend to say, hey, this is a close spread. Just tease up the Pittsburgh Steelers and we should be fine. I think that they'll rally and get this one. And I think the fairy tale for the Colts, Minshew, and their rookie head coach is kind of run its course there, Scotty. I think it's done. Put a fork in it.
I actually, outside of teasing, I like the over in this game.
Over could be interesting. What did we say this
like
was? 42.5?
I actually like the over. I don't think Indy's defense, Medic said Colts D keeps put down. I don't think Indy's defense is any good at all. And I think their offense is a little underrated just because people are like, it's Gardner Minshew, it's back at quarterback. But their offense is a little underrated. So I think this gets above 42.5.
Depends on how much, Minshew's going to be. If they pressure Minshew all day, will the Colts be able to score? Would be my only question. But their defense is just so bad. So yeah, I don't know. I could see.
Yeah, I don't think you heard it while you were gone, but mentioned earlier, I think this game could decide Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Tomlin will be the head coach next year.
I mean,
they could lose out this year. Tomlin
what is their value? I don't want to go down this route because we're going to spend another 20 minutes on this, but
yeah,
given all the circumstances with the quarterback going down, given the offensive coordinator who's been it was awful all season long, yet the team is still in the position to make the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, does that not lend itself to the person that led them through all of these things, all of these things that aren't ideal on their season that can hold them back? He somehow finds a way to get them to the playoffs. Correct. If they make the playoffs, does that unravel everything you think about Tomlin because of what he's been able to do given the circumstances?
No, because he really hasn't. He hasn't done a whole lot, and right now, with everything coming out, it looks like he's losing the locker room. And I honestly think if they come out.
You think a rookie head coach can come in and keep this locker room with a bunch of head cases together? The reason they draft head cases is because they know Tomlin can handle it better than almost anyone out there.
It's not just the head cases.
It's only going to get worse.
Head cases. It's not even that. You're looking after the game. No one's even angry. Anger shows you care. There's no anger. There's no one trying to hype each other up. There's no one talking about we got him next week. It's just everyone's just resigned to defeat.
No, anger equals people no longer liking your player anymore. If you show any emotion in any fashion, then he's no longer a decent human being, and should be sent to the dungeon.
Yeah.
But we've seen players give up on coaches. We've seen what that looks like when players have given up on their coaches. We've seen it various times with terrible coaches where the players we saw it in Las Vegas this year where you had McDaniels. Everyone was celebrating in the locker room. I don't think that's the case with Pittsburgh. I feel like they're not. It's not the same kind of these players haven't given up on Tomlin. When they've given up because they start losing games in terrible ways. Now, sure.
Yeah, and we've been losing games in terrible ways. So I'm saying if we come out and we look how we did these last 2 games, especially after guys like Minka and Pat Pete are talking about it being a playoff game, it just shows that this team doesn't really care.
I would say the
They're talking
difference.
about the players.
I would say the difference is the Steelers are in a playoff hunt, and the Raiders were never close to a playoff hunt. So
yeah,
I mean,
and also you're talking about like you guys swap out the players. You can't swap out all 53 players. So if the locker room is lost, you guys swap out the man at the top. You can't swap everybody else out.
We're
never gonna win this argument, Scotty. We're never gonna.
Hey, listen, it doesn't. Tomlin will be the head coach next year, so we can just move on.
I mean, maybe we could get a haul from the commies.
Mike Tomlin will be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers next season.
Mackie, what's up, Mackie?
I hope not.
Tomlin is a great coach, not good, great.
I think he's a great leader of men.
He's a great leader.
I think he has flaws with X's and O's and things of that nature, but
yeah,
if you hire the right guys, that may not matter. But he's a great leader of men.
Yeah, and he is heavily involved in X's and O's. He is way too involved in it, which is part of the reason that our game planning and preparation suck.
Mackie, the fact that they were even relevant this year. Like I said,
our defensive coaching also sucks.
It's so weird that you hate all your coaches. It's shocking.
You know what? I figured it out, Scotty. I figured it out.
What?
Rec has a manifesto of how he's going to take over as a coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just kind of like that Michigan thing. The whole Michigan manifesto of that dude. Rec.
Connor Stallions.
Rec, is this did we just uncover your master plan?
Possibly.
See? I mean, I knew there was a reason why you kept
it's still like a coach that's at least decent at X's and O's and is willing to take some sort of accountability.
You're just dumping on a guy that won you a Super Bowl. Just dumping on him.
I mean, if we're going by this logic, the Packers were so horribly stupid to fire McCarthy.
Well, McCarthy's leading a 10-3 Cowboys team right now, so maybe they were.
All right. Well, there you go.
Maybe they were.
Those are all of our previews for this week 15 of the NFL slate. Let's go ahead and recap our best bets. We didn't talk about all of them, but we'll dive into a couple of them here. Scotty, I'll go ahead and let you lead off with all of yours. There was, like I said, a couple that we still agree on. I didn't even have to change the graphic for a couple of these because they ended up staying the same this week. But there are some that we did not talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that teaser in Detroit, but Chicago plus 3.5. I just think Chicago's playing some pretty damn good football actually right now. I think now you go on the road against a Cleveland team. Like, why is Cleveland getting the respect? I think it actually has moved down to maybe 3 off of 3.5, but it's Chicago plus 3.5 in a game. I almost like the Bears to almost win this one. I know the Browns had a nice win last week, but let's not give Cleveland too much respect just yet. Like, listen, Flacco's still, there's a reason he wasn't in the league prior to this. He's played well thus far, but Chicago and that offense is kind of getting it together. Justin Fields is playing pretty nice. So give me plus it's going to be pretty cold, which I actually think, I don't think Flacco at his age really wants to play in the cold. He's like, hey, I'm good. So give me Chicago plus 3.5 there. My other one is Washington Commanders, LA Rams over 50. I think this is going to be a bit of a track meet. I mean, I know 50 is a high number. That's a big number, especially this year in the NFL. But these are two teams that constantly hit the over. I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball down the field quite a bit. I expect a little bit of a barn burner in this one. And I like the over 50 there.
There it is.
Of course, Washington's got their own version of Jameis Winston.
Yeah, same
500
how.
yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns the other way.
Perfect. That just screams an over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the Bears pick as well. We've been rocking our best bets of the week that have been matching. They've been on point. So yeah, we agree on the Chicago Bears, and then also that's it. I thought there was one other thing. But yeah, like I think the Bears are just the better team in this matchup. As weird as that sounds, like it's the way they've been playing, I just give the edge to the Bears. Justin Fields has been playing well. Chicago's excellent run game, I feel like, can take advantage of where the Browns maybe aren't playing as well as of late. Chicago defense shut down Detroit in the second half last week and is now 13th in yards per play. I just think to the weather, what you mentioned, low scoring game, I think that the Bears are going to be the better team when it comes to even getting this extra half point on top of the 3 that they could cover that, feel good about it. So love that. Tease Dallas up, and with Miami off of that last loss to Tennessee, that embarrassing loss. By the way, we didn't really talk about too much of that, but did I see the stat that they were the first team to lose after having a 14-point lead under 3 minutes?
Since 2016.
No, yeah, not the first team, but there's been a lot of scenarios of that, and they're the first one to do it in quite a while.
Yeah. So
First one in 7-8 years.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was. I think that they are definitely in a get right spot against the Jets, where I mean, all they need to do is win by a field goal. If they lose to the Jets by a field goal or by anything, then shoot the Miami Dolphins into the sun. Shoot them into the sun, and I never want to see them again. So freaking win this game by a field goal. Then Green Bay and Tampa Bay here. This is my best bet. Green Bay -3. Packers coming off that shocking loss to the Giants, which that we need to talk about all of these crazy things that took place on Monday. We got the cutlets. The cutlets are. I want to eat whatever they're eating in that household, Scotty. Those cutlets are like superhuman.
Or just get his mob boss of an agent.
I'm all about the cutlets.
The mob boss is like taking over. His agent looks like some mafia.
His agent is a genius. I guarantee his agent never dresses like that. He did it on purpose, guys. Like he did it to garner attention and be like, "Oh, this guy's fun and cool, and he's an agent. That's super cool." And I don't hate him for it.
Yeah.
But that is not how he dresses. I guarantee.
I mean, I can look it up real quick. What's his name?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just look up DeVito agent.
Tommy DeVito's agent.
But meanwhile, the Bucs, one of the worst rushing teams in the league.
Salata.
I expect a bounce back from the Green Bay defense here. Bucs were outgained by 2 yards per play despite their win last week, and their banged up defense, 29th in yards per pass allowed. I think Jordan Love can get right and have some success here, especially if Christian Watson or Aaron Jones returns, which I think they're kind of on the fence. But with the home field advantage and everything else that's going into this, I like Green Bay in this matchup. So that's why I have Green Bay -3. And then also the New York Giants and New Orleans Saints. This is, I feel like the Giants will be able to score a little bit. New Orleans hasn't been like a juggernaut on defense as much as they, have been historically, or at least early on in the season that we were projecting. I think the Giants offense has gotten a little bit more comfortable with DeVito. And then also too, the conditions indoors in the dome. I think there's going to be some up and down. 37 is just too low here. I got the over 37, which, by the way, this is all the way crept up to 39.5 last time I checked. So I got it early in the week, and I feel good about that 37. So there you go. Those are the...
I checked. Can't confirm his agent does not always dress up like a mob boss.
No chance. And I never looked it. I just knew for a fact he played into that role on Monday night.
Can't confirm now.
I don't hate it. In the chat, Everyone's disagreeing with me. I keep close is hammering Denver, so
Keep close.
ahead of time, Chris, I apologize for the Broncos losing this weekend, but you can blame Keep Close for that. Medic, I'll take the under in Washington, LA Rams. And Browns defense has been killing it this year. Don't underestimate them. So we'll just ignore the fact that for the last 5 weeks, their defense has been a dumpster fire. And the 1 week they didn't play Pittsburgh's offense. They gave up 31 to the Ravens, 29 to the Broncos, 36 to the Rams, and 27 to the Jags last week.
They haven't been
what a defense.
They haven't been.
Oh, and by the way,
the same defense.
They just had to put like 5 people on season-ending IR.
Yeah.
Like 5 people yesterday.
Yeah, this defense is not what they were
out of
to start the
tackles.
year. And I think it was a little smoke and mirrors at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So I don't know, Scotty. I feel great about our picks this week. And keep close. I'm not going to join you on that Broncos bet. If anything, as a realistic Broncos fan, I'd be on the other side. Yeah, that's true. They have lost several players. Yep. Yeah. So we'll see what ends up happening. This is going to be our first perfect week. I can feel it, and it's coming. It's coming.